As a real estate investor, it is extremely important to learn how to find money for your deals. One of the main ways that most people go to raise money for their real estate investing deals is to go to a traditional bank and qualify for a loan. Today, we're gonna help you increase the odds that you'll be able to get approved for the loan that you need to take down the house that you wanna buy. Okay, let's get into it. What's up, guys? It's your boy Sawan Belcher. This is Make Tech in Action. We're in the new office, so we're getting it set up. Everything's not quite ready yet. We're like 80% prepared, but hey, this is about taking action. Okay, nothing has to be perfect in order for you to start. What matters is that you start and you fail forward fast. Okay, getting to your success as quick as possible is more important than everything being perfect on your first rope-a-dope. Okay, because at the end of the day, the second time, the third time, the 10th time you do the rope-a-dope is gonna be better than the first. So you may as well get started today. Okay, so I want to help you guys go from being a wholesaler, okay, to being a real estate investor. Okay, I want you guys to go from averaging $8,000 to averaging $25,000 per deal, okay? Because that's the difference. When I learned that a cash buyer doesn't necessarily have cash, it kind of changed it for me, okay? Now, in this video, we're gonna talk about how you can improve your odds of getting approved for a loan. But if you guys stay until the end, okay, this video is only gonna be 10 minutes long, but if you stay until the end, I'm actually gonna share a couple tips of how you don't have to qualify for a loan, how you can avoid all of this. Now, does that mean that you don't need this information in it? Of course you do, okay? Because the more ways we can get money to buy, the more houses we can buy. But this last one at the end, if you want to get to it faster because you don't want to do any of these things, then I'm definitely going to show you how to find money within 30 days so you can do your next deal, okay? So the first one is that you need to make sure you have consistent, stable job history, okay? Consistent, stable job history. So banks typically prefer like 2 years of income from one job. So one source of income pays you for at least 2 years. And 2 years is counted as tax years. They're gonna go back and they're gonna look at your taxes and say, hey, how much did his job pay him according to his taxes? Okay. Now the pay stubs, it definitely helps and it might, help you during the qualification process. But when you get to the real nitty gritty and the underwriting, they're gonna be looking at your taxes. Now for all of my self-employed people, okay, I know you can have multiple LLCs, multiple streams of income. All of that is gravy, but you need to do your best to have one LLC that all of your income goes to consistently if possible. Especially if you have like a low amount, like below $10,000 a month, you definitely want to have one LLC, one bank account that all of your stuff is funneling through so you can be able to show a consistent outcome that you're getting, okay? One bank account, one LLC for all of my self-employed people for at least 2 years. Now, for those that are self-employed, your taxes are gonna be extremely important, so don't ignore them. Okay, if you haven't filed your taxes and you're self-employed, you've been doing it for 2 years, even if you made a couple $1 million, you're gonna make it hard on yourself filing your taxes or trying to, I get it. The laws give us the benefit of paying for our expenses first before we pay for our taxes. So technically, we can bring our earned income down to zero or below zero in order to negate taxes legally. But when you're trying to qualify for a traditional loan, banks need to see how much money how much money you make. That's how they determine how much they'll lend you. How much money you make times 6, boom. That's how much money they're gonna lend. All right. Understand that if you make $30,000 on a W-2 income, you can buy a rental property or a single family house for yourself. So don't be discouraged about how much you think you do or don't make. Okay, so you can definitely buy. Okay, I actually walked through a teacher. Last year, I walked through a teacher. She had been working on her teacher job. She was making about $45,000 a year, living in Raleigh, which is a metro, okay? And we was able to get her loan approved. I was able to walk her through finding a deal, and she actually bought it with equity off of the MLS and got a traditional loan and purchased it. And then we helped her with the down payment by reaching out to the city to see what kind of down payment assistance programs that they had. And she was able to cover about 80% of her down payment. So you can definitely do this, okay? Now, the next important step is to make sure that your credit is extremely pretty, okay? And when I say extremely, I guess that's kind of like exaggerating, but your credit needs to be pretty, okay? At the end of the day, 680 above is prime loans, okay? So if you get a 680 above, you're just not gonna have to worry about certain headaches. Things are gonna be easier for you. Now, if you're under a 680, that doesn't mean that you can't get a loan. You definitely can, okay? Really for an FHA, they want you to be 580 above, but really I suggest that you wanna be at a 620, because you know your credit score kind of moves up and down. And so during the qualifying or buying process, it can take you 3, 6 months to a year to actually, fulfill on that loan, to actually close on that loan. And so it's fluctuating. So if you have about a 620, that's gonna help you. That's gonna help you best. Okay. Now, let's just say you're under a 620. What can we do? Now, me personally, what I suggest that you do is actually look at your credit report and see what you have on there. Like, what's holding you back? Is it student loans? Is it something that's in collections? Is it too many hard inquiries? Is it your utilization rate? What is it? Because once you know what's affecting you on your credit report, then you can start to change it, okay? The first piece that I had to address when I bought my personal house, over 6 years ago, the first thing that I had to address was I had a collections on my account from Amex from school, okay, from college. And it was like $20,000, okay? It was like $20,000 on the Amex card. I had like a 720 credit score when I was coming through college. My parents set me up good. And then, my junior year in college, I ruined that, okay? And so $20,000 on the Amex card, went into collections. This is how I solved. By the time I was ready to buy a house, I ended up going to State Employees Credit Union, my local bank, right? They see all of my money that's coming in my account. They see what I have in savings. They see how I manage my money. And I said, hey, look, I'm looking to buy a house, but I need to get my credit up. And they said, hey, well, one thing we can do about this particular one is, we can give you a personal loan. Okay. And they approved me for a personal loan to cover the full amount of my credit card debt from that one card. I'm pretty sure I had multiple, but from that one card, they approved me for that amount. Now, luckily, I was talking to my mom as I was sitting in the bank, and my mom said, well, if they're going to give you the full amount of it, how about we just call Amex and get them to settle the amount that you owe them? Because essentially, that's 3 years old debt. You haven't paid on it at all. They're not collecting any money. They'll be happy to hear that you can pay $4,000, $5,000 up front and then waive the rest of the money just because you paid a nice lump sum. And I'm like, let's try that. So I'm grateful that she stayed on the phone with me, helped me go through the negotiation, and we was able to get them to settle for $4,500. Now, the most key part about that was, hey, great, I'll pay you $4,500, but the whole $20,000 gets wiped off. I need you to put that in writing in an email, okay? Hey, I'll pay you $4,500, the whole $20,000 gets wiped off, and this gets removed from my credit score. This gets removed from my credit report. So Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian will no longer have this in collections. It needs to be in writing in an email. And so when the lady from Amex sent me that email, it had the statement saying, hey, we're gonna forgive X amount of dollars. You only have to pay $4,500, and we're gonna remove it from these 3 bureaus after we see receipt of payment. Awesome sauce, because now I just go over to State Employees. I say, hey, I got them to bring it down to $4,500, right? I still got a $20,000 line of credit, right? And boom, $4,500 goes over to the bank. It gets wiped out of collections, and now my credit score rises 30 points in 1 move. So there's definitely things that you can do. I got another video talking about ways to increase your credit score. I'll leave that here. I'll leave that right below because I don't want to deep dive too much into that. But the next important piece of it, helping increase your odds of getting approved for your next house, is to make sure you actually have a deal, okay? Now, the reason why banks want you to have reserves, the reason why banks want you to have a down payment is because they're worried about, even the reason why they want you to have a good credit score is because they're worried about you actually performing on the note. Like that's what they want you to perform on the note. They want you to have skin in the game, okay? They want you to have some equity. So just in case something happens, you'll always be able to sell and then be able to pay them back. That's what they're looking for. But what if we buy a house and we have equity already without a down payment, without reserves, right? Without any down payment assistance? Then will the bank, be open to, less stricter terms? They definitely will, okay? So the better the deal you have, the better opportunity you have, the better asset the bank can lend on, the better terms you're gonna get from the bank, okay? The more equity you have in that deal, more likely the bank is gonna approve that loan. Let's go ahead and talk about your down payment, okay? So the down payment is definitely gonna be a big one. So on a refinance, the goal is not to have to bring any money to the table. On the purchase, you're most likely gonna have to bring some down payment. Typically with an FHA owner-occupied loan, you're gonna bring 3.5% to 10% down, okay? On a conventional loan, maybe you choose to go conventional because your credit is better, or maybe you can choose to go conventional because you have a large amount down, and you don't have a good credit score. Maybe you're choosing to go conventional because you want to do a bank statement loan. Maybe you're choosing to do conventional because you have more money down. That's why you go conventional. You're going to be putting down 20, 25%, 30% down. Conventional loans help people who have different kind of situations other than the traditional route. Okay, traditional routes is the first-time home buyer that's going to be living there, may or may not be low income, and may or may not have bad credit, may or may not, have low income and want a cheaper payment down. Now, outside of the down payment, you will need to have some reserves. Okay, you will need to have reserves. Typically, banks like to see 6 months. Don't let this part slow you down if you don't have the reserves, because there's things that we can show the bank to show them that we have reserves, right? Maybe a 401k. So if you have a traditional W-2 and you're dropping money in your 401k, that can be counted as reserves, right? If your parents have you a separate account that they gifted you money into, you see what I'm saying? That they gifted you money into and that you can show $5,000 in, that could be reserves. If you have a partnership with, if you have an LLC partnership with someone and you guys have money over here in this LLC account, you can use that as reserves, okay? Be creative. Don't let anything stop you from getting to where you want to get to. Each step of the process is probably going to be a little challenging for some, but you guys can do this. Literally, since the first property, we've used, 2 traditional loans to buy. Over the last 3 years, I've definitely done maybe like 10 or 15, probably more like 15 or 16 refinances. But up until these last few years, I never really used banks like that. What I would typically do before to buy houses was find people who would allow me to take over their mortgage payments, or find people who had properties that were paid off and allow them to, and they would allow me to pay them payments, okay? So if for whatever reason you don't have a job, that's been consistent for the last 2 years, for whatever reason you don't have the most prettiest credit score, and you're not willing to wait the amount of time or do the work that it takes to increase your credit score, you should, you definitely should. For whatever reason, if you don't want to, save up the amount of money for reserves or a down payment, you can go creative as well. You can find off-market opportunities where sellers need you to take over their payments in order to save them from some kind of financial distress. Or you can also help a seller avoid taxes by him taking his profits over time, okay? Now, I'm gonna leave a video that we did here last week talking about this more. So that way, if you guys do, if you guys don't wanna go the traditional route and get a bank loan, you guys can start right here and start buying property in the next 30 days. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.